Hello, and welcome back to Advanced Concepts 2. We are currently investigating Tarstuff, so let's get right into it with some removability. Everybody loves tar theory, right? I suspect I'm going to have a lot of reading to do in this part, although not so much on the mud part. Before starting with the actual tutorials, okay, this is the pre-tutorial. Wonderful. On Tarstuff removability, first we need to define a concept which will be important for the understanding of this topic. An enclosed corner is an intersection point of the grid between four squares that are all covered with tar stuff, because these are basically the grid corners that lie entirely within a tar stuff blob. Right? Okay. An example is shown of a blob with all the enclosed corners marked. The corners have been colored black and white in a checkerboard pattern. The importance of this coloring will be revealed later. Oh. I don't get to cut the tar. Okay. Ah. Okay. It's a fairly attractive layout here. Oh, I've changed the music by doing that. And that's the only one we can cut. We're gonna do mud first. I've got a mimic there demonstrating that once you're surrounded by mud, you are helpless. This is one of the reasons why I prefer tar. Because in this situation, you're totally fine. You can have the tar grow around you. Anyway, we're not talking about tar right now, we're talking about mud. The removal of mud is mostly trivial and can be covered in a single room. Yay! Because mud blobs always have cuttable squares, they have the useful property that every possible shape can be removed entirely, providing there are no walls or other things. That is provided the cuttable squares are not blocked off by other room elements. Yep, okay. So we have to clear the pressure plate. Clear the pressure plate in order to get through. Okay. One cannot always remove all mud from a room. Parts of a blob may be cuttable, but if some vital corners are unreachable, the mud may not be destroyed altogether. Yes, so as we can see here, I can never get in here, which means that this segment is completely invulnerable. I could shave it down to here. Likewise, I could shave all these off, but I can't go in any more than that. Oops, there's not really any point in doing it, though. A notorious example of unreachable outer corners is when the player is enclosed within mud, as displayed by the mimic on the right. In this case, the mud itself is an obstacle. Yes. Cannot get through. Looking at enclosed corners reveals that with every cut, the blob loses exactly one enclosed corner, marked green. That means that the number of cuts required to remove a mud blob is equal to the number of enclosed corners. Also, the number of babies formed in this process is equal to the area of the blob minus the number of enclosed corners. Okay. With the area of the blob minus the number of enclosed corners. Okay, there are 8 corners, and we have 15. We're gonna get 7 babies out of this, right? Is that what this is saying? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I read this? This particular blob will take 8 cuts to destroy and generate 7 babies. Okay, I did not read it. Well, that was easy. We'll be done this in no time. Yeah, not so much. The removal of tar is somewhat tricky, but there are some simple rules that can provide a lot of insight. Some blobs of tar may be removed with a sword only, but some are impossible to remove entirely. A few examples of the latter are shown here. Yes, so these are impossible to remove completely. So we're familiar. We like this 3x pattern here for the tar, but then you get a little nub on it and it becomes unclearable. There are several ways to determine whether a tar blob cannot be removed. The simplest sign is the absence or inaccessibility of cuttable squares. Right, so we can't make any cuts on these. Here we could make a cut if we were on the inside, but we aren't, so obviously we can't cut it. The enclosed corner reveals a lot more information. With each cut, a tar blob loses 2 enclosed corners, 1 black and 1 white. This means that for a blob to be completely removed, it has to have an equal number, to be removable entirely, it has to have an equal number of black and white enclosed corners. Here, the 2 inner corners that would be destroyed by the decoy's cut are marked in red. Right, so cut here, we lose 2, and then cut here to this square, and we lose 2 more. Right. This knowledge can be used to show the following 2 blobs cannot be fully destroyed. The first one has an odd number of enclosed corners to begin with. The second one has 2 more black than white enclosed corners. Right, so this one has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 enclosed corners. That means now has 5, now has 3, now has 1. Okay, this one, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, but the 2 enclosed corners that are left are the same color, so it's not possible to clear them. Oh, this is getting complicated. Although every blob where the number of white and black enclosed corners differs is not removable, the opposite is not true. A tar blob with equal amounts of white and black enclosed corners is not always removable, as the following example demonstrates. Here we have 5 white and 5 black. We can cut here. Well, that separates it. The only place we could cut separates it into 2 blobs, which have 3 white, 1 black, or 2 black, 1 white. Obviously not clearable. Oh, I should actually read that. The problem is that enclosed corners are removed as adjacent pairs. To check if a blob is removable, you have to determine whether all of the enclosed corners can be grouped in such adjacent pairs. Okay, so yeah, we can remove like this, but this one, there's no way to get this corner and this corner in the same batch without missing another dot somewhere. Yep. This blob shows a possible pairing, but not necessarily the only one, and is therefore removable. This blob, there will always be enclosed corners that cannot be paired, thus this blob is not entirely removable. Right, so if I did that, for example, I'd be not doing the recommended cut, and it would also be impossible to clear. I wonder if it's possible to do an alternate. Oh yeah, easily, because I could go like this, like that. That would be different from what they did, because I drew them this way. Not too much variation, though. Note that some blobs have only one possible way to split up all enclosed corners in pairs. This may restrict the squares one can cut. For example, the following blob should not be cut on the marked squares, as it would make the blob impossible to remove. Okay. So why is that? It's because if we cut here, we're removing this pairing, and that's leaving this as an isolated thing, which means that it's no longer possible to pair it, because this one has to be paired with this. It has no other options, which means this one has to be paired with this. This one has to be paired with this. If we cut here and remove this black and white here, this one has no pairing. Okay. So when you got this kind of a shape, you can just kind of go up, you can just climb up it. Alright. Oh, but there's more. A rectangular blob of tar is removable if the length of at least one side is odd. For example, 4x4 is not removable, but 3x4, 3x5, and 4x5 are. Yeah, if at least one side is odd. This is one of the first things that people learn to identify when it comes to tar, I think. And that last one we can't do anything with because we would have pair, 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 pair. There's an odd number, it doesn't work. The number of cuts required to remove a tar blob entirely equals the number of enclosed corners divided by 2. And the number of babies formed is the area of the blob minus the number of cuts. Okay. We have an area of 18 here, and we have 5 cuts. So that would leave us with 13 babies. 1 and 2, 4, 6, 8, 13 on 5. Okay. Oh wow, this just goes all kinds of places. Given the right conditions, there are several ways to change the removability of a tar blob. All these methods will in one way or another influence the amount of black and white enclosed corners. Shortcut to crossroad. Alright. Clear that room out. Shortcut into Tarstuff removability. Okay. I guess. Okay. Couldn't have taken the shortcut before. Multiple swords. Oh no. Well, here we go. Oh, it's just one room. This won't be too bad. A useful trick to change the difference between the number of white and black enclosed corners is to double stab a blob of tar. Note how the simultaneous cuts shown by the decoys remove 2 black enclosed corners, but only 1 white. Yes, so we have 2 cuts here, and this removes 3. So the Tarstuff gate makes its appearance, of course. The easiest way to accomplish a double cut is with the help of a mimic, since you can move both swords simultaneously onto the squares you want to cut. This is true. We use some vertical preference there. Do I need the mimic for anything anymore? Well, there's a there are trapdoors, so I can't bring it with me anyway. Sometimes you'll have to use a stationary sword from a decoy or a clone. The trick here is to place its sword on a non-cuttable inner corner first. It becomes cuttable when you remove some of the tar, and the following turn you can perform the double stab. I see. So if I did something like this, then on the next turn I can jump here and we do a double stab. Like that. Beautiful. I guess if I was going for high score I would have just gone straight for the conquer token. Okay, let's not do anything too silly there. Alright. Growth. Oh boy, this one's gonna be some work. Not surprising. Now, they've done a lot of work with the little graphics in this. Image floor, image floor, image floor. In order to get multiple different image floors, this has to be like one contiguous image, right? Either made the entire shape of the room. Like, I've done some stuff with image floors in the past. It's weird, the way that it tiles. So this is probably one image and... No, because you don't have image floor here. Oh no, that doesn't matter, because you can put image floor here, and image floor, I guess, literally just where you need it, but... It's still, it's weird trying to actually get it to work in the editor. Because you can only have one image per room, I think. So... If that's not the case, and somebody can correct me, I would really like to know. A small 2x2 tar blob will remain unremovable, no matter how much it grows. As a matter of fact, for many shapes of tar, unobstructed growth, that is, nowhere blocked by obstacles, will not change the removability. Alright, we're invisible. Okay. Let's define a convex blob as a shape of tar stuff where between any two covered squares in the same row or column, there are no squares that are not covered. The north blob is an example of a convex blob, while the south one isn't. The marked gap violates the definition. Let's read that one more time. Convex blob. So any two covered squares in the same row or column. There are no squares that are not covered. Ah, I see. So basically there are no gaps in the tar, is what it's saying. We go here, it's all continuous, continuous. Continuous everywhere. But here, we've got a gap in this row. Okay. So the top one's convex, the bottom one is not. Okay. Convex blobs have the nice property that their removability never changes by growth. This is because an equal amount of black and white enclosed corners is added, thus the difference between their numbers remains the same. That makes sense. Yeah. Whereas when you have a space in the middle like this, then you start getting messy. Here's some situations where unobstructed growth will change the removability. Right, so the left with an appropriately shaped gap, and the right, two blobs merging together. I mean, we could just cut it, but we probably couldn't. Right, I can just look at the clock. Instead of just waiting for something to happen, I could have looked at the clock. Right, so here we go, we got a little nub, but because this is even by even for the square, it's totally okay. I guess I probably could have trimmed this to make this a little bit easier. And it's set up so we can only have one growth. Still invisible. If you want to change the removability of a convex blob of growth, by growth, you will have to use some sort of obstacle to partially block the growth of a blob. Okay. Oh. That's awkward. I wanted to be the obstacle, but then it occurred to me that I can't actually be blocking with myself and be in range of the eye at the same time. I guess I'm going to have to let it grow a bunch. Well... What does this do? Don't let it grow enough. Okay. That's fine. Because I need to cut this one in such a way that do I want this to grow again? Maybe not. Because if I do something like this, that's not going to change how it grows at all. I guess maybe I did want it to grow again. Because what I'm doing now is I'm trying to get it to grow in a weird way. But this is never changing. It's never changing its... Yeah, and that was pointless what I just did. And I guess the easier way to deal with this one is just to let it grow into a corner. that. That'll do it. Not the most efficient way to deal with it, but whatever. And here... Okay, I have to use... I have to use my body, don't I? That'll do it. Alright, not too bad. Oops. Mothers. Different from regular tar growth, I guess. Right, because the mother herself is a vulnerable position, even if it's not normally on a cuttable spot. Okay, and it's going to get into the theory behind that. Okay, cool. A square of Tarstuff with a mother on it is always cuttable. This means that a square with a mother may be cut as an outer corner or inner corner. Such cuts remove different amounts of enclosed corners and also change the difference between black and white ones. Filling this mother only removes one enclosed corner. Cutting this mother removes two enclosed corners of the same color. Killing this mother removes three enclosed corners, two black and one white, or vice versa. The following two blobs would normally not be removable. The first has one extra white enclosed corner, the second has two. However, because the mothers allow for different cuts, you can compensate with the excess with white enclosed corners. White enclosed corners. Okay, so this is set up so that if tar ever grows, then this will become impossible to cut. So we have to do this, well, we have to wait until turn 30. And then cutting these, I mean, rather than think about it too much, usually I just cut away everything until it's only the eye that's left. But if I wanted to think about cutting the eye first, obviously I wouldn't want to do something like that, because I know that leads to an uncuttable shape. So the issue here, I wait till turn 30, is it has an extra white, right? So we need to use it. We can see that these are where the problems are. So if we think about it in terms of pairs, we cut a pair, we cut a pair, cut a pair. Now we're cutting a pair, and that leaves us with one. Okay. And for you, could do that, that's not going to be good. Right, this had too many, so we have this situation where we needed to leave it like this because it had two of the whites instead of just one. Okay, not too painful. And now on to the tar stuff that everybody loves. I don't know. Gel has some interesting properties. I really like gel babies. I'm not a huge fan of the gel itself. We're gonna put it on the corner like that. I'm gonna take advantage of it. I guess I'll be doing it at the end of the gel area too. The removal of gel can be very difficult, and there are only a few guidelines that may help you here. I believe that a improved theory of gel cuttability was published onto the forums after this thing came out. So the theoretical understanding of gel is much better than it was at the time that this hold came out, if I remember right. That's fine, my Tarstuff alpha is already set to transparent, or halfway transparent. It can be difficult to tell if a gel blob is removable or not. The only obvious case is if there are no cuttable squares or if they are inaccessible. An important thing to note is on which color floor tile the cuttable parts of the gel blob lie. If you cut gel on a dark square, any newly formed cuttable gel will also be on dark squares. The same goes for light squares. Now that's a nice way of thinking about it. This means that a blob with cuttable squares on one color only will always be cut on squares of the same color. Right, so this one can only be cut on black. We cut, and this is going to be black, opening up a black. This is going to open up a black. Yeah. Every time it's black. The following blob. That's only light cuttable squares, so you can never cut it on dark squares. However, to remove the marked enclosed corner from the blob, you'd have to cut one of its 4 surrounding squares. It has to be a light one, but both light squares can never become cuttable. Right. Yeah, neither light square can be cuttable because for it to be cuttable, it needs to have something on all 4 sides of it. Okay, so we can only cut this one. We can cut it on light, but it's not going to help us. Hence, whatever you try, the marked enclosed corner will always remain and the blob is not removable. I believe you, but I'm going to cut it a little bit anyway, just to get myself more familiar with gel again. It's been a while. Okay, cutting on light, cutting on light. As they see, we haven't been able to get in there. Cut on light, we can do that. The above configuration is a bit more complex but uses the same idea. The blob can be attacked on either dark or light squares. Also note the marked enclosed corners and adjacent squares, which need to be cut to remove those corners. To remove the northwest corner, you need to start cutting from this light square. However, afterwards, this leaves the southwest unreachable because it is no longer connected to a cuttable dark square. Similarly, when cutting from here to the southwest corner to remove it, you will cut off the northwest corner from the only light cuttable square. Either way, you'll end up with one corner that can never be removed. Right. So the issue here is that we have to go on light, cut diagonally, or dark and cut diagonally, but paths of different colors can never cross within gel, so that's never going to work. Okay. Unfortunately, enclosed corners do not provide as much information with gel. Since there are 2 possible cuts with gel, the amount of enclosed corners removed depends on the type of cut. Right. Cutting here would remove 3 enclosed corners. Cutting here would only remove 2 enclosed corners. Depending on whether it's a little choke point like that or whether it's got more mass behind it. The black and white coloring of the enclosed corners does not reveal anything at all. The only way to discover if a blob is removable is to try and split up the enclosed corners in groups of 2 or 3 that get removed with each cut. Okay. And we're doing this with a mimic because we are nice and safe here. Thanks to the mimic. So we can make this kind of a swimming pattern. We didn't do that the way that they did it on the map. Let's follow the chart. Yeah, so here we cut through a thin part. That's thicker. Then we do a thin piece and thick one again. There is, however, a catch. Either type of gel cut requires that some enclosed corners near them are absent. Below, they are marked red. This means that if those corners are part of the blob, they need to be destroyed first. Now look at the following groupings of enclosed corners. Although each group is a correct configuration, they are all blocked by another enclosed corner that would have to be removed first. There is no cut you can start with, so this blob cannot be removed this way. And it occurs to me I could make a cut here to create gel babies, get past the green gate, and then be stuck, because I won't be able to come back. Now, I'm sure I can actually just get out, so it's probably fine. Oops, I'll trust them. Another way to tell a blob is not removable is if some enclosed corners cannot be part of a group of 2 or 3 corners in the right configuration. This problem arises with the marked corners in this long 2 square wide part of the following blob. Yeah, because we can't do 1, 2 or 1, 2, 3. Since neither configuration is possible, we cannot ever cut that area. Even though some blobs are perfectly removable in theory, the formation of babies can pose a problem. Here, either blob can be destroyed by a single cut, but you would end up surrounded by babies. You could only solve this with a speed potion or the sword of another entity. Yeah, so we cut here. The problem is that we need to retreat back into this other gel blob to survive. That's not going to work. So instead, we're going to do that. Oops, kill the decoy so that we can get through. Since the number of enclosed corners removed with a cut can be either 2 or 3, the number of cuts required to remove a blob entirely may vary. The same goes for the number of babies formed. For example, the first blob takes only 2 cuts while the second will take 3. And because it will take more cuts, it will produce less babies. Is that how it works? This is 2 cuts, and it's going to be 6 each time. Oops. 5, 6. And a second cut. Oh no, it's going to be 7. Right. 6 and 7, we got 13 babies. This one. 1. We're only going to get 12 this time. Okay. 12 babies on this one. Just like with tar, there are tricks to remove gel shapes, which would not normally be removable. One of those is double stabbing gel. The following figures show all configurations of enclosed corners a double stab can remove. Okay. Yeah, I've had to do this one with a Slayer before. That was fun. Actually, it wasn't that bad. It's funny, Slayer is one of those elements that's absolutely horrifying when you first encounter it, and ends up being really, really easy to manipulate once you have some experience. It's a weird thing like that. Unlike with tar, there are gel shapes which require more than 2 simultaneous cuts. Oh boy. Well, we've got a disarm token now, so... Wait, you're gonna have a sword though when I place you. Oh, that's to change my relative orientation, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, I can't. I can't. Okay. Well, that's fine anyway. That's the way I wanted to do it. Here, here, and here. And for this one, cut here, cut here, cut here, cut here. How are we going to set that up with the disarm token? And without causing problems? Oh, I could be disarmed the whole time. And then I can just do it like this. There we go. Just like with tar, gel is always cuttable with a mother on it. This means that a mother may allow you to make another cut make a cut to an outer corner or a straight edge. This may help destroy some blobs. Okay, well we do need to destroy everything to get out. We don't have a lot of choices here. Oh, we don't want to do that. Because then this will be uncuttable. So I guess we start from here. Also, you don't cut on or grow on orthosquares. I don't know if it's told us. Yes, it has, hasn't it? I can't remember. Was there a no growing on orthosquares room? Yeah. Big place. Alright, so I can cut here. However, doing so... Well, we can just see right here. Doing so makes it uncuttable. If we do that... Oh, gel babies on orthosquares. Okay, that's a nice shape. Alright. Cutting here is not going to give us more options than we otherwise would have had. So let's just do that first. Right, that noise was the mimics clashing their swords. And that's fine. Cool. The effects of growth, unobstructed or not, are rather unpredictable. It can change the removability of a blob either way. Well, we need to block this. And that gives us a nice shape. And we are clear. Okay. Alright. And again, we want to leave. Do that. Was there anything else we wanted to do here? Where do these stairs take us? Where do these stairs take us? Ah, here. I see. And that lets us get over here. And I guess that's the last thing we have to do. Challenge rooms, oh boy. Shortcut into challenges. Well, no need for that. Alright, well I think that's been pretty good, so yeah, getting one wing done in each episode. Not a whole lot of thinking in this one, but a lot of talking, a lot of theory. By thinking I mean puzzle solving, that comes next. So I will see you then.